let's bring in Justin Ziegler now, co-founder and COO of Juicy Way, joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show.
Pleasure to be here, Lottie.
All right, so, definitely we're seeing weakness with Bitcoin so far towards the end of August. How are you seeing the market play out?
We're seeing Bitcoin being weak over the past few weeks, but over the past 5 years, it's up 90%. We forget briefly that it was a $10,000 coin just 5 years ago, and now it's over $110,000. However, the cryptocurrency that I'm most interested and excited about is actually stable coins. It's coins that keep a stable price as they move forward. And I think that we're seeing with the US legislation, Genius Act, some meaningful changes there.
All right, and talking about the meaningful changes that with Genius Act on stable coins, but I guess the bankers are still quite worried, at this point. The bankers, I've heard, talks about some banker associations in the US, saying that some of these stablecoin issuers should not be able to provide yield to customers. So if you're keeping your stablecoins, with them, you shouldn't make interests, but because they're afraid that that would take away business, from the banks. How are you seeing that?
Yeah, that's also right, Lottie. And I think that's a meaningful change, but we're also seeing companies like Coinbase doing credit systems as a means of providing benefits to users that hold stablecoins, even if they're not getting traditional yield. So you might not be able to earn interest on your stablecoin, but you may be able to get credits and benefits from holding them. And so why is it important that the US passed a Genius Act for a country like Nigeria? And that's because 99% of stablecoins are actually denominated in USD and backed by USD. And what this act does is it separates high quality and low quality stablecoins. It permits and gives a platform to high quality stablecoins, and it doesn't allow low quality. So what is high quality stablecoins? They are stablecoins that can be redeemed for a US dollar at any minute. And what we're seeing is we're actually not seeing these stablecoins become that prevalent in the US market. We're seeing them in emerging markets as means of making payments. And so the promise of a stablecoin is the ability to make a payment anywhere in the world in under a second and for under a kobo. And so we get the opportunity to now see there are over $250 billion in stablecoins. And just in the last quarter, we've seen over $5 trillion transacted using stablecoins. And so that's even before the Genius Act has come into place. So we're at the point of this digital asset revolution, and the future is going to be written through stablecoins.
All right, so, definitely stablecoins are already widely used, for remittances, trade, dollar savings. How might the Genius Act, change how, countries in Africa actually interact with stablecoins, really? Because some might feel like, okay, this is happening in the US, we're over here in Africa, we might not see that much impact.
Bitcoin and Ethereum have a lot of value as stores of value. So what they do is they enable, because there's a fixed amount of resource, you have an indication that over the long run, that currency could go up. However, they're extremely volatile. And so if I have Bitcoin today, I don't know if it's going to be worth exactly the same amount tomorrow. It could be down 5%, it could be up 10%. However, stablecoins are just in that they're stable. And so when we think about transacting across borders and trying to do that instantly and near free, stablecoins are much more reliable in doing that. And so if I want to make a payment from Nigeria anywhere in the world, stablecoins provides the technology for that to happen instantly and for basically free.
Yeah, basically free. And, definitely, I guess that's why we see some remittances coming through, stable coins at this time. But, for African fintechs, building on stablecoin rails, what new opportunities does the, Genius Act unlock for them?
It gives a lot of credibility to what we've been building, including Juicy Way. So Juicy Way, the company that I'm the co-founder and COO of, we are founded on the mission to ensure that Africans can engage in the global marketplace on equal footing. And our goal is to ensure that a Nigerian can make a payment anywhere in the world for in a second for under a kobo. And so the Genius Act lends a lot of credibility. We've seen massive market adoption. As I mentioned, we're up to $250 billion of stablecoin assets. That's growing meaningfully week over week, and transaction volume is up to $5 trillion. And so we're seeing the US accept this reality that countries like Nigeria have already known, because they have needed ways to make payments globally, and stablecoins make that a whole lot easier.
Right, but on a side note, so we have the Genius Act, coming out from the US. What do we tag the one that's going to come from Africa?
The Genius Act sets a pretty good template and foundation for regulation globally. GCWay for a long time has only worked with high quality stablecoins that are now permitted and clearly regulated under the Genius Act. And you could take that same approach and do that across Africa. And I think Nigeria is already doing meaningful progress on regulating stablecoins. And so what does that mean? It means take anything that is not a high quality stablecoin. We saw a big blow up of a stablecoin, a low quality stablecoin, Terra, which was backed by Luna. And the reason that failed was because it wasn't backed by any real world assets. And so you had one coin being backed by another algorithmically. And so when one started to fail, the other started to fail, and a lot of people lost money. And so when regulators approach this in Africa, they need to make sure that they do not allow currencies like that, but they do allow currencies that are instantly redeemable for the fiat currency that they represent. And so if we're able to do that, we have a leg up, in Nigeria to being part of this new digital revolution.
All right, definitely. We're looking forward to that and seeing how this space actually continues to grow. Thank you so much for coming on today. Justin Ziegler is the co-founder and CEO of GCWay. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you, Lottie.